Hi, this is Cindy
And Michael.
from Part-Time Permies, for those of you guys who don't know us yet, but have a few people in the room already. Got the intro started a little bit early, and it looks like we have a little bit of a delay going, about 20 seconds or so. But if you could let us know if you can hear us, that would be great.
We just saw Todd a minute ago, right?
I think Todd was in the
It's over with
room.
Justin.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's see who we have in the room. We have Half Acre can't talk this evening. Half Acre Dreams, Instant Shop, Todd, Dion Jones, hello Grandpa Jones, Linda, Crystal, hello. So thanks for stopping by. We've been pretty darn busy, which is
We had company most of the weekend on fairly short notice, a few days notice, which was good. We were more than able to accommodate. It was a good weekend, but it
was fun. Your mom's in the room, Kiri and Tina, hello. Yeah, so I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, unfortunately. I have a video that will probably be coming out in the next 2 days, maybe 2 to 3, because I'll probably wrap it up tomorrow night is my goal, if not, and then I'll post the next morning. But been really behind on things. So, and we have guests. We've been either out of town on the weekends, or guests in town.
Booking weekends all the way through, like 6 weekends in a row.
Yeah, pretty much. So we have more people coming to town next weekend, more people coming to town the weekend after, and then we go to Ann Arbor the weekend after that. And then I think we don't have anything booked for a few weekends.
Good, because market's about ready to start.
That'll be April by then, but you have a few weeks before market.
Yeah, I got plenty to do.
Yeah. So
Tina's getting eggs. Yeah, our egg production has started to go up finally. We got shorter than usual for the winter due to a few kill-offs.
Yeah.
That we weren't expecting from some predators, just a few, and whatever else, some young ones. So we're getting 6 to 8 eggs a day, but it just we were getting at one point only 1 or 2, and we were actually running out of eggs. So did buy a dozen eggs from a friendly farm.
A friendly
farm at market yesterday, just because we had extra people in, and we're trying to hold eggs for our next hatching, as well as not eat them all. So
I think we're back to, well, we had guests in town, so we ate most of our eggs.
Eating a dozen eggs a day or so, so it was hard to hold eggs when we're getting 6 or 7. And then yesterday you said you didn't get any.
The other day we didn't get any when we got really cold. Was that yesterday? I think it was.
But they're doing good.
Yeah. So that was really weird. But then we had like 8 the day before.
Yeah.
Or we would have had 10.
Just a weird off day.
We had 2 broken ones, but we would have had 10.
We had some real heavy wind and some weird stuff come through. So but sometimes I get a little spooked and seem to slow down when things get really hot or really cold.
Yeah. Or stressed. And I think we might be stressing our hens out right now with too many roosters.
We've got roosters going nuts. Yeah, when they're in, they're starting to get out of the coop a little bit more now. We're letting them out.
But we probably should. We have usually we keep about 2 roosters with our main flock, and
getting a lot of eggs eaten. I think partly because they're crashing around, in there and chasing then
each other. And
some we're thinking maybe a little protein low, but they get extra scratch, and they get. We're trying to keep the protein up. So with the geese. But so we were losing 1, 2, 3 eggs a day at times on either smashed or purposely eaten.
Yeah, and we'll probably need to get some more fake eggs in there because they don't like pecking at fake eggs and they give up on them after a while. But it might be because we have a half dozen roosters instead of 2. So yeah, Tina.
2 roosters and 3 hens.
Tina has too many roosters.
Sounds like
for
you
that
got chicken soup at some point.
Oh no, and it's probably Chinese chicken soup because she has silkies.
We've eaten a few silkies. They eat fine. They have the grayish meat, but they taste the same.
Yeah,
they're actually quite a delicacy in Asian cuisine, but we found them to be
taste like chicken.
They're just a little darker in color. Makes it for interesting soup when you've got a gray meat in your soup and you don't know what it is.
Yeah. So we have 4 roosters. We'll probably give one to our neighbor if he still is low because he lost some to predators this winter too. We just had a lot of predator issues around here.
It was a cold, hard winter, and I think it stressed some of the. There's so many small animals. Usually the coyotes and everybody do pretty well, but
this year it's been
the meat on the gray black silkies is a grayish black.
All silkies
color.
are black.
Yeah,
even the white silkies have black meat.
Yeah,
well,
it's a
black
meat.
meat.
So don't be too surprised.
And Helix is going to join us.
flying all over.
Wait, this cat is the clumsiest
You
cat
clawed
I
me
know.
in 2 legs.
Yeah. He goes, well, you didn't provide a lap.
Yeah, and feeding, we feed some eggs back to our chickens at times. Lots
Yeah.
of things you can do with eggs. Well, of course you can do you can do the really nice custards like creme brulee that take a lot of yolks. You end up extra with egg whites,
Yeah.
but the whites are, then you can feed those back, or scramble them up and feed them back.
Yeah.
Or if you have a dog or whatever, dogs love even scrambled white. Tail floating around in the lens.
Yeah, so okay, our feed seems to be about 20 seconds behind, so we just saw the cat jump up, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny. But yeah, we have some hens that
32
are
hens and
older.
25 eggs. That's pretty good. Yeah. We
Yeah.
get it in the summer last spring we were getting 18 and 20 eggs a day.
Yeah, we are.
We were selling a couple. We were giving away, we give them away to family or whatever. But yeah, we were pretty loaded for a while, and then we're under. We'd
Yeah.
like to get a dozen to a dozen and a half a day would be perfect,
Yeah, because
even if we don't use them all.
I even had another person at work say that she heard we have eggs, and I said whenever we have extras, we sell them. So couple people locally, if we have extra, we sell them, but we are just breaking even right now. Plus, we are currently trying to save our extra eggs because we want to raise probably 30 to 50
We need
chickens.
to get a 1 or 2 round for the season, and we're pretty busy, so we want to do a good enough batch that we can take care of a good portion of, at least
All at
half the
once.
year. I get
Yeah.
them all in the freezer. So.
Yeah. So, and we've had a few other people join in. Stringfield Ridge, hello. I don't know if I said hi to Kiri, but she's been chatting in here, and that's
Green Gables is in. And,
yeah.
Yep,
So a number of people joined up.
lots of regulars, few new.
Awesome. So, we do the same, sell the extra. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit hard because it seems like it's slow getting going in the spring when you don't have extras year round. It's slow to get them going again to sell the extras in the spring.
People think about it around Easter, and then they forget.
Yeah, that's true
Of
too.
course, we have so many people producing eggs, backyard chickens, as well as small farms, that the price is pretty deflated around here.
Yeah.
So it's hardly worth going out of your way to have extra eggs to sell, because I don't know if you actually can make any money on it on a small scale. It's nice to do it when you have the extras, but
just helps supplement.
yeah, they're not.
It's not paying for anything.
It's barely covering their upkeep.
Yeah.
So
it's not really. But yeah, so we have. But yeah, we're trying to save some, which actually means if we're going to do 30 to 50 potentially chickens for meat this year, we don't have artificial setup. We're using our broody hens, so we're waiting for them to go broody. But we have 2 of what I call the broody coops or the nursery coops, which are tractors, chicken tractors that are small with a coop at one end, and like 3/4 of it is a run area that we can shift around and put the mamas in with their babies. It has it's all low to the ground and everything, so they don't have to climb up. So mom can take them out foraging pretty much day 1 or day 2 technically. She usually comes off the nest to show them food day 2.
They're out pecking at greens, within 24 hours.
Yeah. So basically, we need more of those because that will only hold one mom with her clutch per
10 or 12
coop.
at most. Yeah, so we would need one more.
We need 1 or 2 more. So we might have to make that and finally make that into a video, which we were planning on doing a year ago. But my nephew's coming out next week, so he might be able to help us.
Eggs on the counter will last quite a long time. Weeks.
About 3-4 weeks,
3 or 4
depending
weeks.
on temperature a little bit.
Yeah. So the hotter, the faster they degrade. The problem is, so you don't have to refrigerate them if you haven't washed them. If you wash them, you need to refrigerate them. However, eggs do continue to degrade with heat, so the white gets thinner and eventually the yolk kind of sags. So I am a fan of, if you're not going to use them within a week, I am a fan of refrigerating them because you get a longer hold. Now you can hold them in the refrigerator for like 2 months or longer. They will also eventually degrade, and you have to be careful of other smells. Eggs take on strong smells, garlic and onion and food smells and things very easily. So if you have a dedicated kind of produce refrigerator, garage fridge, or whatever, egg fridge, it works great. You have 60 days minimum, and probably 90 days. You can really go a long time on them. But then I would keep them nicely chilled. Yeah.
So we'll keep them on our counter a week, maybe 2 sometimes. But I tend to only sell the ones that we harvest within the last week.
Our freshest ones.
Yeah.
Give them the best.
Yeah, exactly.
And we give them the cleanest ones, whether they're washed or unwashed. We give them the really clean ones, and then we'll clean off. If they're super dirty, we just crack them and give them back to the
Give them back to the
chicken, 'cause
chickens.
it's not always
Yeah.
worth washing them. But
If they have a little
the
stuff
dog
on
gets
them,
a little bit of egg sometimes. She likes them.
she loves them. And she doesn't take them raw. I mean, she doesn't take them from the shell, so she doesn't try to steal them out of my hand or anything.
She doesn't bother.
Yeah, so she doesn't bother the chickens at all. We've been walking her off leash right past the chickens. Yes, we have electric poultry net, but she accidentally ran into it once, but she had a coat on, and I don't think she even felt it.
Yeah, it's not a real
through
strong
the coat.
fence. So.
But
yeah, we get colored eggs. We're getting 4 colors eggs right now, 3 or 4 colors.
we're getting some darker browns, some lighter browns. Our silkies are white. We get green ones, and we get some that are more the light blue
We're getting the
as
green,
well.
blue, olivey.
Yeah. So not really dark greens because we don't have the Morans, which have the really dark browns. But because it's a cross between that.
Did we have some white eggs at one point, but we no longer have any of the white
Only
eggs?
the silky eggs. Just the silky eggs are white. The rest of them are, rainbow. We have rainbow eggs.
So yeah, they're mixed.
Which is kind of fun for Easter too, because you can advertise that you have rainbow eggs. And what's better than natural coloring on your eggs for your Easter? You don't have to color them.
I saw something on Instagram last night. Somebody had like 3 eggs or 4 eggs of different colors of brown or white or whatever. Yeah. They had them all cracked and fried on a pan, and they said if you have a hard time getting the concept of racism and skin across to people, here's some brown eggs and other colored eggs, and here's some cooked eggs, and they all kind of look the same. So yeah, right. I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one before. Yeah. But
people always ask, even culinary classes, which one's healthier, which one's better. Like they're all the same.
Yeah.
And it's the skin color that the feather color that affects the external, but the interior, there's no difference.
Where did you buy the celery powder that we used during the hog butchery?
Let me pull a receipt on that real quick.
I had to get it.
There's a couple. So you can get small packages from New York.
We're matching hats.
Yeah, we do, from the same winery.
Yeah.
Sausagemaker.com has small packages, but I bought 1 pound packages. Maybe Butcher Packer. I'll see if I can pull up here. Otherwise, I can pull my invoice. I have it on my computer. But
just www.butcherpacker.
Yeah, and that's out of Detroit area or out of Michigan, incidentally. But so I really like Sausagemaker out of New York. Incidentally, we've lived in both states, but it's actually come about because I found good products. So Sausagemaker has most of what need curing ingredients. Butcher Packer is nope, sodium. I bought something from them. Put in celery just in there. Yeah, just type in celery in their searcher.
Okay.
But it's not truly cure. It won't show as cure because it's. So what they do is they take celery powder, celery juice, dehydrate it. That's
celery salt.
That's not celery salt. No. Natural curing compound.
Oh, there you go.
Celery salt is a flavor.
Yep.
Yes, and go down. See, I want to
listing.
Yeah. See if it's the right price.
Sorry, we're looking it up right now.
I think under naturally cured, we just got to find. It was about $36 a pound, I want to say. It's very expensive. But if that's what you need to use, then it doesn't really matter. You just look for the best price. That was about the best one I could find. I'll double check that that's where it was. So a pound of standard pink salt nitrates, whatever, is about $2.50 in small amount, kind of retail. And you use about 6 ounces per 100 pounds. Celery powder, this one you use 11 ounces per 100 pounds, not celery salt. Celery salt is what goes in Bloody Marys.
Yeah.
Which I don't really care for, but that's the only use other than some slight seasoning. It goes okay in stuffing, but yeah, so it was 11 ounces per 100 pounds of meat, and it was $36, so it's vastly more expensive. But I did buy 1 pound bags, and I bought 2 of them. In fact, we didn't even break into the second one. I still have it here, but we'll use it. Who else? I bought from 3 companies: Butcher Packer, sausagemaker.com. And let me just grab my computer. I got it on my QuickBooks.
Yeah, he'll find it for you. There we go. I was still trying to search around online. But okay. I'm just trying to see if we missed any other questions as we go through here. Sorry about it. Catching up on what I missed. Okay. No, and we didn't find it on Butcher Packer very easily there, but
Yeah,
you can look up
so
your
I'd done a
seeds.
bunch of searches trying to just find a good price because I knew we needed a bunch of it.
Can you just pound celery seed into powder?
You
No.
can't. So it's dehydrated or concentrated celery seed juice. So you need more than would be, and you also need to standardize it.
Yeah.
So you have the right amount. And the other thing you have to do is, so nitrites become nitrates. Is that right?
I'd have to go back to biochemistry.
Yeah, one way or the other. It's broken down, and it's broken down with time. And so the one version is kind of held, and the other version is accessible to interact with the bacteria or resist the bacteria. And the way that that happens is there's actually bacteria that converts the nitrates to nitrites or nitrites to nitrates.
Yeah.
Play nitrates to nitrates. And they actually inject and inoculate their celery juice with that bacteria to guarantee
that it's stable.
It's almost like inoculating your seeds with rhizomes to make sure that you get good
growth on
good growth on them.
Yeah.
So they do that, and that's one of the nuances. Now nitrates do show up naturally in celery. So if you make a meatloaf with a lot of chopped celery or different compounds like ketchup or other things that you will find, like when it's fully cooked, it'll be a little pink, and somebody will be like, oh, it's pink in the middle. Or you make a seasoned burger with a bunch of onion salts and things and celery salts. People say it's not cooked. Yeah, it is, but you have natural nitrates that are interacting and causing the pinking.
Yeah.
And in parts of France and places where they found there are nitrates, traditionally saltpeter, where mine it was naturally in the soil, which meant your salt or the animals were already taking it up and eating it. And so that's how they figured out it worked, because it was showing up naturally, just like wine and having sulfides in wine. Parts of Spain, the ground naturally brings up sulfides. They found it lasted longer. It was a more preserved wine. So.
And as far as the question on how the greenhouse on the porch is doing, I do have a picture for you. Let me pull it up. We do have plants in our greenhouse growing. I've moved.
Yeah, Butcher Packer. 69.62, but that was for 2 pounds and with shipping. So yeah, it was in Butcher Packer.
Okay. Just have to look it up and find it again.
Yeah, Cure celery extract is I think how it showed.
Okay.
Because again, it's not going to show as I put in Cure, but celery extract. It's not going to show as your regular cures because of the whole legal uncured cure.
Yeah. No. So back to the greenhouse question. So we did move a lot of the other plants out to the greenhouse this weekend. We had already moved our kale, which is up on the top shelf here, kale and the spinach and chard is up on the top shelf. I did get the chard split out because there were too many growing in each one, so I did separate them out. I need to do that with the kale as well. And then we have onions down on the bottom shelf and leeks down there. So we have some other things that we shifted out there. And, excuse me, we also have, I just started a new tray for baby kale, a whole tray of baby kale to grow that we're starting out there as well. And hello, Heaven Gates Cherry Farm.
Temps are holding right around freezing or above, depending on the night. We hit 111 degrees on, what was it, Tuesday or Wednesday?
Here you go.
It was very sunny. It was maybe a little above freezing. It wasn't maybe 40 degrees at most.
Yeah.
It was blisteringly sunny, and I poked out at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I think got home. It was 111.
Yeah, that needed to be vented.
Which, if it got like 10 degrees more, we're starting to fry stuff. So I opened up, we have a garage door. I opened up the garage door just to let it blow, kind of let air move in that way. And we brought it, 10 minutes, I brought it down to 100 degrees or something. And that was fine. We really, at this time of year, we'd like to keep it no more than 80 or 90, but definitely 111 is too much.
And you can actually see on the bottom right side of this, it's not the best picture, but the bottom right side, high was 111 in there, and it was that at that time of the picture, but the low was 28 at night. So
That's
talk
pretty. We
about
pushed it pretty hard on that one.
that could have. We didn't have the other plants out there yet. We did have the chard and the spinach and the kale out there, but we didn't have the others out there
Yeah.
yet. So, Crystal, we lived in Michigan, and we know all about those challenges. Yes.
Yeah, well, and Justin Rose was just talking on his member show about, and we, which inspired us years ago, was the Elliott Coleman and the four season growing, low tunnel where you don't have heat inputs, and that he's growing in Maine, so that's one or two zones beyond us that you get more extreme, but he's pretty deep into it, and if you plant correctly and do the right things, you can harvest, if not
Year
grow,
round.
through the year. And be pretty effective. You just have to plan a little harder.
So our poor book lost its cover the first season we
Years
used
ago.
it,
Yeah, we've had it for years.
but we use it all the time. So
I think that book and the How to Grow More Than You Ever Thought Possible,
in less space than
unless and that one, those two books about almost 10 years ago when we were starting to do some stuff, probably revolutionized our thoughts on quite a number of techniques. It was pre-understanding permaculture.
Yeah.
That term wasn't really on, out there that we, but we didn't. Yeah.
We weren't aware of it as much.
But we were effectively going after and using those ideas without knowing it.
Yeah. Although you have slight variations on it. So you have the French biointensive method.
French intensive. You have the bio. You have French intensive. You have biointensive, or the bio where neutral. The interdisciplinary crossing, and then looking at micronutrients, which a lot of that's UC Davis and what is it? New York. What's the university?
In New York, Cornell.
Cornell. Yeah, UC Davis and Cornell being on the forefront of those, and really world leaders. There's all the ag schools are very good. Minnesota, Michigan State. So and I had run across people that had worked with some of the famous nutrient engineers that really understood micronutrient activity. So
Jason asks, what is the first thing you guys are going to do when the weather changes? Well, our weather's been changing all the time.
Yeah,
we were 60 degrees the other day.
For a day. Then we got dusting of snow.
Yeah, and then within 24 hours we got snow again. No, that's Michigan in the spring for you.
But the radishes will come up. Things that are left over, like the garlic and some of the potato starts that are already there. Some of the herbs, they'll start to poke up.
Carrots.
We even saw mosses on our back trails that look like they'd greened up and sort of fluffed up a little bit. Some of them were, because they'll respond very fast to small amounts of water and warming.
So it does slow down in the winter here for us, definitely. Although
mud is a big issue. We are on sand, so we drain fast. But in general, the farmer, one of the biggest issues is when we get rain and how much, and can you turn soil either manually or then even equipment's harder. So it's playing around the mud. Yeah. And we have a lot of spring wheat in our area, winter wheat, soft wheat. It's prime for that. Yeah. So that's already been planting. So as soon as we get, like this weekend, we'll get a couple days in the 60s. It's possible we drive through a couple fields in our area that we'll see green tips coming up very soon, because they're already started, and every time it warms up, they start growing.
Heaven's Gate Cherry Farm lives in Hale, Michigan, and our high tunnel is still full of a foot of snow around it. Yeah, we don't have high tunnels. We have a low tunnel. We could do more low tunnels, but then we built our greenhouse.
We like the 4-foot tunnels because you can get around them and they're wide enough, but
you can reach around them.
They keep the heat at the high tunnel is very hard to maintain the heat at ground level. You just have to heat a lot more space, and you can't. And then actually, if you're really serious about low tunnels, people do the 1 and 2 foot tunnels.
You could do a low tunnel in a high tunnel, though.
That's exactly. You do the double tunnels in either in any size, but you just maximize heat retention. But it's harder to work in them. So.
Yeah. Yep. So we don't have a heck of a lot of mud. It was a little muddy this last week with the snow melt and some rain.
We pretty much lost all the snow, and the ground was frozen, so water was sitting on the ground, but that's released a little bit.
Yeah, as soon as the ground thaws, the water goes straight through our sand. So
yeah, I don't know what Paul Gauchi's doing with potatoes. Actually, haven't seen.
I saw he was just planting it straight under his apple trees. into
Okay.
his. He does the back to eat 'em with the wood chips,
Okay.
and he just takes the biggest one and puts it back into the same place again,
We
basically.
frequently take. We have some. I was just done
We
looking at
often
our
miss.
leftover potatoes. They're packed in straw, and they've done very nice.
Mhm.
They're a little dehydrated, but they have very nice, fine, extended roots on them. And I looked at them to made some corned beef hash this morning. Cindy's parents were here, and one of her family friends, relatives,
Yeah.
and so I looked at them like, oh, those got such nice roots. I don't want to mess with cooking them. They're not worth it, and they're ready to go in the ground. So
Yeah.
we have sunchokes primarily under our
Our
apple
apple trees.
trees.
Yeah.
Little less maintenance.
Yeah.
We have potatoes in other areas.
Yeah. And we often, when digging up potatoes, seem to miss them anyway, so they tend to come back the next year. But you can plant them in the fall and let them start growing when they're ready to start growing. So that is, we'll often do that if we have time in the fall. If not, we'll put them in the ground early spring whenever we get a chance to start working in the soil.
I think
Um,
potatoes are very variable varieties in soil. Michigan is a good potato growing area, but also potatoes like to be moved around. They're a little hard on the soil for pests, and they do selectively take nutrients like anything. So,
yeah,
like almost anything, if you constantly grow potatoes in the same place, you're going to have problems. If you can move them around even a
most of the
little
time.
bit, they do really well.
Yeah, you gotta watch it basically, or you can interplant them with other plants, and that helps.
It's hard to grow a big like a russet
Yeah,
starch potato. But you got to remember commercial potatoes, large percentage of those potatoes come up, get mechanically sorted, and they're the wrong size and they're damaged. They're actually thrown right back into the field. There's a very low yield of potatoes because we want these really nice ones, and then they're still sized after that.
yeah,
So where we pull out all different sizes and many of them are kind of damaged, that's more the reality. It's a very kind of wasteful
yeah.
commercial crop, but they're also very inexpensive. So I find that growing starch potatoes isn't very useful. They're so cheap, I'll just buy them at the store. We tend to buy, we tend to do fingerlings and wax potatoes or Yukons or,
Yeah, more
we do
specialized.
specialty and the softer ones that boil up nice because it seems like those are the ones we get the best benefit out of them.
Jason, we do not grow our potatoes under low tunnels. We just
Yeah.
put them in the ground in the fall, and when it gets warm enough for them to
They don't
start,
like a lot of heat anyways, so they do great
yeah,
starting in the spring. In
they'll
fact,
start when they're
fall,
ready.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically we just leave them alone, minimal weeding to get them started, and then they produce enough material around them. They don't need anything. They just
What did they leach from the soil? I'd actually have to look it up. I don't
I don't know.
remember.
I know they're really bad about pests, attracting pests, which ruin them.
Yeah, you get some potato beetles,
Yeah,
and you also get hornworms. We had hornworms on potatoes last year.
but they don't like them as much as other
The
things.
tomatoes they like better,
Yeah,
but yes, they do eat multiple types of nightshades. Um, can you share a proper corned beef recipe? Well, guess what we have a picture of?
we played with a little corned beef just today.
Yeah,
Um,
that was dinner tonight.
mhm.
Along with you had some sauerkraut with it.
I had some curry kraut from a local
Yeah,
friend. Elder Fire Farm Ants, which is at our local market. They do some nice specialty fermented items, and they had done a curry kraut that we had acquired yesterday, and so I put a
yeah,
little bit on. Cheese is a specialty cow's milk cheese from a farm in Vandalia, a small family farm. It goes over to Wind Shadow Farm and Creamery in Bangor, and they're a goat farm, but they have with a creamery they make cow and goat, and Suzanne makes that semi-aged cheese, and I believe that's the one that's soaked in was
is
it the
that the
Expedition Stout from Bell's?
from Bell's Beer? Yeah,
It's quite nice. It's kind of a mild. I've had it before. It's really good. It's a small supply, and she probably sells it way cheaper than she should
hmm
because it's really a specialty cheese. But yeah, they're just kind of breaking into market. And then the bread is about 60%, 70% rye, the remainder stone ground whole wheat,
hmm
sourdough, slow sourdough using Stefan's rye sourdough start. And that
yeah.
was made last night. Sort of incidentally, corned beef, we cooked and seasoned it, although I did not cure it. I think that was an Aldi's. That was an Aldi's buy, which I didn't know when we were going to use it. And then we had family coming in for the weekend,
Cattails.
and there was talk last night about why don't we make some hash, some corned beef hash? And I said, geez, I could sure do that. I could do that. I have a piece of corned beef. If I stick it in the crock pot tonight, I will have it well tenderized. And we made corned beef hash in the morning.
Just in time for St. Patrick's Day.
And
So
I
happy St.
left that
Patty's Day.
one piece, which we cooked it out for hash, so it was a little bit falling
This
apart
one
versus sliceable. So I left that one piece set aside for us because everybody's gone now. And I said, well, we're gonna have dinner, and I have the bread incidentally, and then I didn't even think about it. I realized I had the cheese there. I was like, we're gonna, and then I had the kraut, and I said, we'll just put it all together.
It was all local
All
dinner.
local.
Other
I mean,
than
the beef, the beef was not local,
No,
but I
no.
did cook it. It wasn't a pre-cooked.
No, I guess.
And I've made, so you can look up recipes for corned beef if you're looking for it. It's brisket. You could corn other cuts. I mean, you can corn around, you know, like we used to buy whole legs corned. Oh yeah, Bell's is a great place to see shows. They bring in some really fun bands, and I haven't been in there for a while, but yeah, they are notorious for bringing in some really good shows. But yeah, corned beef, you can take, you know, beef cut. It usually takes 3-4 days to, depending if it's a big one, it could take a week or two to corn. And so it's a brine, but the brine has pickling spice. So you can just buy that off the shelf, your standard pickling spice, and throw that in, or you can manipulate it using more mustard seed, you know, cloves or allspice to your liking. Can have some fennel seeds, can have some pepper flake, bay leaf, but that's sort of the basics. And so you can either do it real simple or play with your recipe. You corn, and then if you want it pink, you add in cure, so your celery extract or your TCM for the pinking, and then you need to simmer it, or I've sous vide it, I've simmered it, or you know, boil it, not a heavy boil, and cook it out. And then when I cook it out, I like to put some fresh garlic in. I put in some additional spices, same type of pickling spices, and of course, you can put in fresh vegetables. I'll put in fresh thyme, a few more bay leaves sometimes, just to kind of freshen it up. And yeah, and that's it. So it's not that I don't, and when I've made it, I don't find that it comes out so tremendously different from when you buy it. So I don't know if it's necessarily worth the trouble because you need to get it in a pail and have a place to hold it refrigerated and all that. We did big tubs of it at a restaurant a little bit. And what I do know is if you're concerned about every little thing that goes into it, and you really want to make it your own and know your spices, and so they tend to add in pepin, which is papaya enzyme, which helps tenderize, and they add in like sodium erythorbate and a couple other things which are preservatives and things that cause plumping and moisture retention. So if you want to keep those things out and just do a simple salt sugar brine, and then put a little cure in, a little, you know, nitrate cure or celery extract, and then do your own spices. That's probably the only advantage, is keeping a cleaner, more controlled item, and then selecting the cut of beef. And by the way, a cheap cut of beef does make nice corned beef, but if you have the ability to access a grass-fed cut from, you know, your property or a local farm, it is amazing. I mean, a grass-fed corned beef, like anything else, the flavors are so rich, it will blow you away at how good it is. But you know, even any corned beef is good.
Yeah, no, that was good. So we had it twice today. Hi, that 1870s homestead. I'm assuming that might be Rachel.
Yeah.
But
I bet they made something good this weekend.
I bet so too. No, so yeah, so we did celebrate St. Patrick's Day. We aren't necessarily Irish. You might be Scotch Irish, but
we're yeah, it goes back a long ways. There's definitely good roots, but it goes back a long ways.
Yeah. We're more
I love a good Reuben. When I lived in New York, we did a lot of pastrami, a lot of corned beef, a lot of Reubens, you know, or just all different styles. Zingerman's, the famous deli, is close to where we grew up in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
I've been there. They do a nice job.
I actually went to high school right next door to it.
The interesting part with, I had a sous chef that worked with us. He was in New York because I really wanted corned beef, and I went to a place in Yonkers. It's a really well-known place. It's a kosher deli. He's like, yeah, I'll take a Reuben, blah, blah, blah. And the guy's like, we don't do Reubens. And he's a little crazy. He was about ready to go nuts on about, what are you talking about? You don't do Reubens. He goes, but you can have parve on it. He goes, what's parve? And of course, parve is non-dairy cheese. It's, you know, soy cheese or whatever, but it's parve because it's neutral. And so you can't do a Reuben in a true Jewish deli. They won't sell them because you're mixing milk and meat.
Yeah.
So kosher. And so he came in the next day and tells me the story. He goes, I said, "Oh yeah, parv. Yeah, you have to do parv." He goes, "Oh, I felt like such an idiot after I got home. I realized what it had gone."
Yeah,
But it
not
is a good
kosher.
it was a good kosher deli in Yonkers. So,
Yeah,
and some of the kosher style delis will do a Reuben. Most are kosher style. There are very few that are truly kosher delis, but
yeah.
they are around.
Oh,
So
that's funny.
be aware of that when you go for a Reuben in your kosher deli. You're out of luck.
Yeah, not happening. But yeah, so we didn't quite have Rubens, but we had something similar tonight.
Yeah, think about making some corned beef and pastrami. I find harder because that's brined and then it's crusted and it's smoked, and that is sometimes brisket, but many times it's more like your little belly muscles, um, kind of put together. And I find that a much harder activity, although it's just as good if you want to
Oh, it's Todd
pull it
on
off.
1870s
Yeah.
tonight. Rachel's out of town.
Oh, well, there you go.
Cool. So, Todd, did you make any corned beef at your house?
We didn't cook much.
No.
We went out twice this weekend,
Yeah, we
actually,
did.
because we were busy too. We went to our local American Vietnamese place
One of our favorite
around the
restaurants
corner,
here.
which was really good because we had Cindy's parents and their friend Barbara,
Yeah, and we came
cousin,
to visit
sec,
cousin's
wife.
widow. My
Yeah,
mom's cousin's widow.
yeah.
Family.
Family. She's family. We've been over the years many times. So
Yeah.
they'd come. They wanted Cindy to come and visit, and then they're like, "Well, we'll just come out for the weekend and come and visit here." So
Yeah.
they came out, and so they came out Friday evening, and then no beer.
Wearing my
G-
green
Gave
had my
gave up
food.
gave up
Yeah.
beer for Lent or for long
No.
term.
No. Well, I'm not doing beer today. I had a migraine earlier. Definitely not. And I have to
Yeah,
work tomorrow.
so we went out and then we decided last night I had market. We went to another place, Bravo Restaurant, which is near the airport. They do a really good job. We know the crew there, and
Yeah.
that's where we did our All-Star Chef's
Yeah.
dinner.
Which will be our next video
Next
released.
video. So yeah, so we ended up like, let's go to dinner there. They always do a good job. We had a great dinner. I did, and they make all their own beer. They only serve beer that they make, and they do a good job of it. So I did have a beer there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have anyone who's recently Irish should know this, but I have a little trivia for you guys. How do you spell St. Patty's Day, the nickname? Um, if you guys can guess correctly, then I will put it at, I don't know what we'll do. We don't
I
have a
do
giveaway.
buy the cheap. More often than not, I buy the corned beef after, like right away after. I do find a lot of stores are liquidating things almost like day before. They don't let it hang around. But I bought it. Aldi's, they had their $4.99 stuff, and then I saw like a 3 or 4 pound package, and it was $2.99 early this week. And I
Hi,
said,
Jeff.
"Gall, $2.99. You don't get it cheaper than that retail. I'll just buy one." And that's how it ended up in the fridge. But I may go by there tomorrow. I was already thinking, if I remember, I'll see in either Myers or Aldi's or somewhere. Costco they'll sell out and have it gone already, but I'll probably buy one more small package. And I do like that idea of poor man's pastrami, of crusting it yourself and smoking a corned beef. Yeah.
Yes, Tina, you are correct. It is double D, not double T, because double T is a woman's name. Double D is the man's nickname if you're Irish. So St. Patrick would go down to St. Patty with the double D. If you're Patricia, it would go to Patty with a double T. So many Americans mess that one up. But I learned that in New York. We
That's
lived in
true.
an
I always
area with
forget about
Irish.
that, but it's
Yeah,
totally true.
it's double D. It's not double T because otherwise you're calling St. Patrick Patricia, so which is kind of funny. Um, anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah. If you ask anyone who's from Ireland, we lived in a fairly Irish area in New York for a while.
We lived real close to McLean Avenue, which is notoriously continually recent immigrant
Yeah,
Irish area, and
yeah, and
But Yonkers has for
a lot of
quite a while,
Irish.
for many years, has been a very Irish
Yeah.
area. So it was kind of fun. It was fun.
Yep.
Then Manhattan has all the Irish bars down by the train station. They're always a blast to go get dinner. In fact, so the story is you have a couple of bars that are so close, and they're all bar and grill, restaurants. They're so close to the subway station at Grand Central. They have the MTA monitors piped in, the feed piped in live into the bar, so you can watch your regional trains come in. Like the Metro North that runs, once an hour or twice an hour, you can watch your train schedule or the delays, and you can time it to finish your beverage or your meal
Yes.
and run to
To
get
get
your
your
train.
train.
It's very, very common.
So Todd says you have to soak them first.
Yeah, yeah,
Remove
they're
the
too.
prepackaged salt brine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get some of that salt out of there before you crust it for sure.
And Jeff, yes, I think green eggs you said earlier count for something for St. Patty's Day, right? We've been getting a couple greens.
Polish food is definitely competitive with good Irish food. So our area has a mix of everybody. If you go just a little bit south towards South Bend, Indiana, there's very large. My parents lived in that area. Very large Polish groups, and I think my mother was. Well, she's on. So they used to have big Polish dinners, and of course you have things, Christmas pastries and things are wonderful. So yeah.
Around here you get a lot
In
of
Chicago,
Dutch and German here.
Dutch, German, and mix of just farm
Years
generations of small farmers.
Yep.
Yep, little everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, they dye the
They do
river green in Chicago every year.
So we're halfway between Detroit and Chicago, so we kind of get a
almost exactly.
And of course, Detroit has a huge Polish population downriver.
Yes, they do.
Because we just had all the punchkis come through.
Yeah.
We have a bakery that does really nice. A couple of them do really nice punchkis, but Judy is her husband's, I think, mostly Hungarian. I think she's Hungarian or Polish, or some Polish Hungarian. They do a lot of the Eastern desserts at times through the year and do a really nice job.
Todd says that you can view the chat on TV now through the YouTube app. That is cool. We haven't tried it on TV.
Yeah, yeah. I think I heard something about that.
Yeah.
You don't have to soak your corned beef if you're cooking it out in enough liquid. And the veggies, Todd was talking about actually soaking it out so that he could secondarily crust it and smoke it for make a quick pastrami. The problem is when you smoke it, you concentrate those flavors and the already salty becomes saltier. So you definitely want to soak it for that. But yeah, otherwise you don't necessarily have to pull the salt down.
Green Gable said her husband's in Poland for the moment for work, and she's curious about what Polish food is like. Meat, cabbage.
It's simple food. Lots of dumplings and potatoes and flour-driven, pastries, and of course
similar to some of the German food.
Well, it's country. It's country poor food. It's just the classic stuff. So in that way, Ireland has the same thing. Root vegetables, cooler weather, pastries, flour-driven pies, and things that are filled and belly fillers to inexpensively keep you going. So there is some similarities and not a lot of spice generally, but it's different. It's different food, but it's really good.
Your mom said also a lot of Belgians in South Bend.
Are there?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
South Bend's a big area. All these areas in the Midwest were factory towns, and so they attracted huge amounts of labor at times to fill the factories, and so you had whole groups of villages and families that migrated in for good jobs, and it left their mark on food for sure.
Yeah. We have actually a decent sized Italian community in the next town over too.
Just 5 miles over, and it's not a very Italian area, but fruit trees and grapes grew really well, and it wasn't that far from Chicago. So a lot of them left Chicago in the early 1900s when Chicago was just terrible, mob riddled and depression, and it was just awful. So there are a lot of fruit and wine and a number of longstanding Italian families.
Linda cooks a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch that she grew up with, which is actually German. They're Deutsch, not Dutch. So, and the Dutch don't call themselves Dutch; they call themselves Nederlanders, Dutch. But so Pennsylvania Dutch are actually German descent, but a little ways back.
Yeah, and well, we have the Amish and Mennonite areas are prevalent here, both just west of us and just south. And again, as you move down towards the border, into Mendon and Goshen, and then into in and around South Bend, all around that area, you have a massive amount of Mennonite and Amish still.
Yeah.
So that is very, very prevalent for both sightseeing and food and just general life. Very active in our area.
We definitely have a lot of fruit on the west side of the west side of Michigan. It's a huge fruit belt of apple trees and peach and a lot of stone fruits, cherries and everything, and blueberries, tons of blueberries, tons of grapes. We have Welch's in the next town over.
They mostly process orange juice, somebody was telling me, which is crazy.
They have to truck that up from down south. We're not growing oranges here. But there's a lot of people growing grapes for Welch's
We
too.
talked about Scrapple a little bit, and Souse. Souse is head cheese, and Scrapple is a blend of head and other scrap. And I've had some professional demos from some very notable chefs that grew up in Amish areas in Pennsylvania years ago on making Scrapple and cooking Scrapple. So yeah, those are.
Yeah.
But that kind of came into play in our when we were down with Justin Rhodes and doing the hogs. Is how do we use some of these things and how traditionally people made these various versions of the items.
Yep. So, just seeing if.
Well, if you get north in Michigan, you end up with a lot of Scandinavian.
Oh yeah, the UP is full of Scandinavian.
Very, very notable.
Or the Upper Peninsula.
Upper Peninsula and the Upper Lower Peninsula. Kellogg's is still in Battle Creek. It is still quite a dominant part of the downtown, their corporate headquarters, although a lot of the people have moved to Chicago. Mm-hmm. They go through trends and they seem to be downsizing a lot. We have some friends that work for Kellogg's and one of them recently worked for them until a few weeks ago. And so they're going through some transitions. So we hope they stick around as a presence in Battle Creek because they really keep it going. I mean, Denso, which is a big auto manufacturing, parts manufacturing company, and some other manufacturing, food and otherwise, are in the area. But yeah, Kellogg's is very important to Battle Creek.
Battle Creek would be pretty hollow without Kellogg's.
Downtown especially,
So they do keep that going a bit. You're going to be starting market in Battle Creek too.
I am going to start doing a Wednesday day market, which actually is in their traditional marketplace, which is next to the one kind of bigger hotel and their event arena center, which is sort of they have a semi-pro basketball team, and it's an older style, a small arena, but it's their market is directly across from one of the corporate headquarters for Kellogg's, which means people come across the street and actually shop quite well.
Oh, Crystal, you're not that far from us then.
Yeah.
Because we're just west of Kalamazoo. Kellogg popularized circumcision in America? Really?
Well, I know that Kellogg's, if you go back to it, it came out of food to service hospitals and people that were not fed because the family had to serve the poor where they didn't have family to bring them food. And I believe that Kellogg's was, I don't know if they're Mennonite. They were a religious sect of a time, and I can't remember which one, but that's a strong part of their early beginnings. So they definitely had some social activity going along that built into a large company.
Okay. Trying to see what else I missed.
Did you have a picture of the hash?
I did not get a picture of the hash this morning. I forgot to get that. But we had corned beef hash this morning.
We're trying to figure out maybe this fall. We know we're really busy through the summer, but maybe this fall or something. We may put some type of a get together. We've been talking about doing some seminars or classes. There's been some asking about doing some pork or some 1 day or 2 day specialty classes, limited, not the full 3 day stuff that we're doing with Justin Rhodes. It just seems it's too much because we don't have a pasture and whatever. But we've kind of been kicking around the idea of maybe having some people out for either do a meet and greet or do some classes or something. So
yeah, if
don't know, no specific plans yet, but
if you have things you're interested in, feel free to let us know.
We would like to do a get together at some point for people that are local, and we have a pretty good group of people that we keep in contact with through the lower part of the state, a lot related to Pratt Pack and things. So. And of course, for any of you that are around and don't know about the Michigan Hootenanny sponsored and put together by the Pratts, that's middle of July, and
end of July.
End of July. You want to sign up for that now. Camping spots are open. Mm-hmm. Really, the only cost involved is your camping if you're camping for 1 or 2 nights, and there's a potluck. Otherwise, there's no charge on it, and it's totally family friendly.
And you could just come for the day too.
And you can come for the day and bring a dish to pass and end up eating more food than you could you could bring. And so if you want to meet a bunch of people and hang out in a really casual, fun family environment,
that'll be July 27th.
On that.
July 27th is the.
I think 1870s Homestead will probably be there.
I'm pretty sure they would be there.
Pretty sure. We tent camped. A lot of people brought their trailers. They have nice travel trailer spots with
Week 10.
full or semi-full hookups.
Yeah.
And
There's a place
so
you can rent a trailer to bring there too, but I think they were
it's
kind of
it's
expensive.
awfully pricey.
Yeah.
It's just the two of us, so for us
Tent works.
the tent works pretty well.
Yeah. We'll have to see. You can bring dogs, but I think you can't have them.
Seventh-day Adventist, yes, you're correct. That's what
Yeah.
Kellogg's was Seventh-day Adventist. There's some other groups involved in grain and some of the other food companies that were, I want to say Mennonite or something, but you're right. They were definitely Seventh-day Adventist. So.
Kombucha. I'm not a big fan of kombucha.
I've had a few I like, but I'm not. We don't make it. 1870s makes quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Rachel's doing a demonstration on it.
Oh right.
Yeah, I tolerate it, and when it's made well, or when it's cut with fruit juices or ginger or things, I like it, but it's not my favorite.
Is Rachel doing a soap demo or a kombucha demo? I forget what kind of demo she's doing.
I thought she was doing a soap felting. Is that for Homesteaders of America?
No, I think that was Hootenanny, but or could be both. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't gone on the Homesteaders of America page recently though. So since you guys know about medicinal plants, any advice to help a severely bruised foot heal faster? Buck stepped on. Oh gosh. Did hear some people using mullein. I haven't used it but sometimes they'll put it in a fresh leaf of mullein.
She's felting soap. Yeah, she's doing that. She's doing the soap felting at Homesteaders or at Hootenanny?
I think at Hootenanny. But you take the leaf of mullein and you put it in your shoe, and you can actually walk on it a bit, and it's supposed to help relieve.
But there are other things. Is like Navi had a couple. If you look up on there's the bone heal and other things, but there's stuff that's specific for bruising. And I can't remember.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, but
yeah, I look it up as I go. I don't claim to be an expert in it. I just look it up as I go and teach you as I learn. So I'd have to look that one up and see. But you can always skim through our previous on our webpage, which there's a link in the description below. The previous
there are different
features.
I forget what it is. There are specific things definitely for bruising and clearing blood, clearing bruised tissue, damaged tissue.
Yeah. So
Arnica would help. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of that. I don't know much about it, but yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, a number of people said that. Yep.
Comfrey, yeah.
Comfrey does help healing a bit. I know people use it on bone issues as well.
I mean, massage, if you can tolerate it, because it can be very tender. Just the idea of moving.
Yeah, mullein's big. So it's actually, its first year is a biennial. So the first year it's just a rosette that spreads out on the ground. The second year it shoots up its spike that can get about 3.5 feet tall sometimes, and I'll have the yellow flowers at the top of it.
Yeah, in the late summer.
And the leaves, a lot of people call it the toilet paper plant because the leaves are very fuzzy, and for people who do a lot of hiking and camping, they'll use that for toilet paper as well. So yeah.
What else? What other pictures? Oh, we had pictures. We did some duck egg pasta this week.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I had a group of chefs over, our local chef club, which meets monthly. I hosted this month's meeting at our pasta shop, and we've been doing some local duck egg pasta, which I do seasonal when there's more duck eggs available.
Yeah.
And the cheese that we had featured before on the platter. From Wind Shadow Farms, she came out to talk about their local cheese, as well as Alavante Olive Oil, who we partner with at the market.
Yeah.
So we had people talking about really fine quality, specialty, small artisan companies in our area, talking with some of the chefs, and then we cooked some pasta. And we put some cheese on it, and we used some olive oil, and we had a bunch of chefs, so we kind of created a little bit. And we had some homemade hung pancetta that I had made a while ago, and we worked with some pork belly I'd made for something else that I had a little left in the freezer, and we just had a good time on Tuesday for a couple hours in the evening.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking at the Mullen discussion here. I think Jeff, there was a early video of yours soon after you moved to your property where I saw Mullen on your property. It was a fuzzy leaf thing. And
Super
then
disturbed areas like where forest
yeah,
has been cut or something's been bulldozed, it will pop up
yeah,
first season or second season in that sandy or clayey area and start covering,
yeah.
clear the area just for a season or two and then
It's
moves
pretty
on.
much a pioneer plant, but
Yeah.
and then if it's really fertile soil, yeah, I'm sure it could get
We get
huge.
it popping up all over the place. A
Yeah,
couple plants here and there all over our yard, but again, we're on very sandy area, so it likes it.
yeah.
So.
Um, okay. So anyway, I think it's almost 10 o'clock. I'm wondering if anyone else
The mullet
here.
does have some fine, so a lot of times it's dried.
It's
We dried a bunch of it this
it's
year.
more like fine hairs. It
Yeah.
can irritate the skin for some people, but for some people, they're not irritated by it at all. So it might be actually a reaction to it. Um,
Oh, putting.
but it got up in the
Oh,
background.
she's already turned around.
Yeah,
That was, I
that
was
was
looking at
20
the
seconds
delay.
ago on
She's
the
already
delay.
down in the back asleep.
But but yeah, so you can brush the hair off or you can soak the mullein and that might help as
I
well.
see a dog. Yep.
Yeah.
She's
Puddin
a
is
very quiet dog.
on her favorite couch. She's taking it over. But
Yeah. So we didn't have many videos as we were on the road,
yeah,
and then
we're
we
out
were
of town last
recovering from
weekend.
that, and
Yeah.
then busy with work, and she's editing a couple of videos that have been dragging behind, and then
Yeah, so
we went to last Sunday. We went to see Cindy's family for a
birthday party.
birthday
That was
party for a
Saturday.
niece
Yeah.
Saturday. And then this week we had family. And then the next 2 weeks we
I
have
have family.
additional family coming. Her sister's moving out of the area. So some of them are coming to see,
Yeah.
want to come and see us before they're going all the way to South
They might
Carolina. So
in
it's,
2 weeks she might actually join us.
yeah, she's probably going to be here Sunday night with
Yeah. I don't
her
know if
daughter and their young baby.
I don't know if they'll want to join us on the live
I
show.
bet she will. I
She
bet
might.
Charlie will probably be sleeping, but
Charlie will probably fall asleep because it's pretty late for Charlie. But Charlie and my sister Laura have been on our videos in the past. So Charlie was the one who was planting potatoes with us last spring and started some of her own seeds. This year for her 4th birthday, I gave her a few things, but one of the things I gave her to take down to Charleston, where they're moving to, is I gave her some little kits for starting strawberries. So hopefully they can get some strawberries going down there. And my sister doesn't do a lot of growing herself, but she says she wants to start a few things. So we might be in touch on what's easy to grow, although they're going to be in a much different climate from us.
yeah, well, they'll be quite
Yeah.
far ahead of us.
Yes. Yeah.
You said what pudding starts dog training obedience classes?
Yeah. Pudding's
She's gonna be a little old, but she's just gonna refine. She's got
yeah.
pretty good skills, but start refining some of them.
Yeah, it's halfway to just get us to keep up with it, and halfway to refine what she already knows. Because she knows some basics, she's just not always consistent with
She's gonna
it.
step on those little puppies in class.
She's not in the puppy class. She's in.
Okay.
There's a puppy class and there's a beginner's class. The puppy class goes to 6 months of age, so there could be some young dogs in there, and there could be some small dogs in there, and she is huge, but.
Our Saint Bernard did a puppy class, and he was growing
so
5 pounds a week.
Yeah.
He was big when he got there, and he was at the usual 12 weeks or 15, he wasn't. He was perfect age-wise. He was so big compared to all the other puppies.
Yeah, he was.
They had to clear the whole ring just so he could turn around. It was a smaller area, but yeah, they had to clear out for him.
Yeah. So yeah, that is the best time to get a little one into gardening. So we had a few videos with my niece when she visited for a couple days last spring, which she helped with gardening, which was fun.
Do we know Jim McDonald? I'm not sure.
Not offhand.
Does he have a channel or a local business or farm garden in the area that we might have? We're bad with names.
Yeah,
we might know him and not know him.
Might know his channel name if he has a channel. So yeah, we are bad with names. Okay, that's chat back and forth. Anyway, so we probably should just wrap up because it's about 10 o'clock. I do have to work tomorrow. Yeah, you're talking about filming. So
well, that's good because 1870s was They were so nervous to film just a year ago, and then just
Here,
it was
a little over.
probably barely a year ago they did their first videos, and I
Yeah.
remember like weren't sure if that was going to be the thing for them, and they jumped right in there.
They
So
don't, well,
yeah.
they had Instagram going for a while
Well,
too.
Instagram, we like Instagram.
Yeah.
It's great because it's so immediate. He's a Michigan
Michigan Herbal.
herbalist.
Oh,
No, I don't
cool.
think we know him.
Yeah, we'd have to look
I'll
him
have
up.
to look it up.
We've done classes with the Southern herbalist, and we have a local foraging guide here. She doesn't do a whole lot of medicinal other than what she normally uses for her own use. She does more food related.
If, by the way, going back to the videos, if you want to see different styles and some really good stuff that's kind of fun, while we were down with the roads doing the hog fabrication, we don't have a video out from that yet. Cindy was pretty busy,
Yeah,
and she has
I
some
was doing more
content,
still
but she was doing
pictures.
still pictures and
Yeah.
working on some other stuff. But if you watch Justin's short, I think he just had one video on the hog stuff. He released that in like 2 days.
Hmm.
It comprised the 3 days into 10 steps for preparing a hog. He did that
Yeah.
quick edit. But then you had side projects going on because you had Art and Bray did 2 videos,
Yeah.
and they had
The
a
hollers.
during and then a wrap up, and the Hollers had I think 2 videos,
Yeah.
and so those were all crossing over the exact same time period. And so Art was helping me and Ben was helping me with logistics and just being extra hands, and they all have some background
Mhm.
in the process and are both very mechanically inclined. So Justin hosted. I put on the class, but they were integrally part of making it happen. And then between them and the rest of their families, they shot videos and did these short ones. So if you want to see some interesting, quick editing, they have their own styles and their own kind of topics going on, and you watch those back to back, all 3 of them or 5 of them, and realize that it was all actually happening at once. It's a nice sort of montage of activities.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So Jason said that his site is
Okay,
herbcraft.com.
didn't
I'll
know
have to
about
check it
that.
out. I do like, as far as YouTube channels, that's not a homesteading channel, it's a foraging channel, is Learn Your Land, because he is
Oh yeah.
full of a lot of information and a lot of studies. And
He's really young. Really, I think he's a professional.
yeah, he's
He's probably got a photographic memory.
yeah, the guy, yeah, oh my gosh, either that or he's got cue cards, because he just rattles all
I
these
don't think he
studies
has
off.
cue
I
cards.
don't think he does either. He just rattles it all off, and oh my gosh, he knows so much. So I do like watching his stuff. He has a web page as well that he runs with some other people. I believe they're all in a club in like Philadelphia that runs a lot of native foraging and stuff. But that I like watching because I've learned quite a bit about mushrooms from him. Actually, he does have other things too. Um, okay, yeah, I definitely look forward to seeing different style. Need foraging info. We have some foraging
Meriwether
videos.
Forager, I've heard of. Yes,
Which one?
Meriwether Forager.
Oh,
May have.
okay,
I think I
yeah,
may have seen it. Some stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's awesome to find someone who's at least somewhat in your region. And there are some things you find across the entire United States, but it's kind of nice to have someone who's somewhat close to your zone, so that it's kind of similar seasons when they're finding things to when you're finding things. But yeah, okay, other people know you learn your land. He is very, very smart. So, and I'm to the point where like I'll quote him on stuff. And there were some mushrooms that we found on little down branches
The name of the
in
YouTube
North
kid
Carolina.
you like is that is that the Learn Your Land,
What was
or is
that?
that
What is
somebody
the
else?
name of the YouTube kid you like channel that is? I'm not sure who you're asking
Or we
on
love
that. It might have been
Adam. I don't know. Yeah.
he's been having a conversation with someone else for a bit. Uh,
David the
David the
Good.
Good.
I've heard the name, but yeah.
Yeah,
There is, and
there's a number of them.
I think where a lot of that's sort of been lost, we're getting a little bit of a resurgence. It seems like
Yeah,
every 20 or 30 years there's a rotation of people getting more interested in
yeah.
foraging or just in traditional agriculture, and we're definitely on an uptrend again right now.
And
So
as far as herbalism classes, the place where I took permaculture classes also does herbalism classes locally in Kalamazoo. That is Lily House, Kalamazoo. It's Lillie House.
yeah.
And they have a lot of fun classes and just a lot of stuff on their webpage if you're
We
interested.
have wild ginger and American ginseng in Michigan. It's fairly prevalent in areas, although you are not allowed to legally harvest wild. You can grow it,
Yeah,
um,
you can grow it, but you're not allowed to forage it.
forage it, because they're concerned of over foraging and
Yeah,
losing it. However, there's most people don't know what it is, so I'm not sure if that's fully a legitimate concern.
I
But
think
it
it
does grow relatively
depends.
slow. It's somewhat sensitive, so you
Yeah.
need to be
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, I think it's one that you have to be careful of, and there's definitely certain cultures that value it a lot
well, people send it to
medicinally.
China because
Yeah,
Asia prefers American ginseng. American prefers Asian ginseng.
yeah,
Of course, almost all basically wild ginseng in Asia, between China and Korea and everywhere else, is eradicated because everybody takes it.
forward to it. Yeah,
There isn't any left. So everything they have is cultivated. So we actually have wild.
yeah,
So it is highly prized for export and for niche use here. So
yeah. So yeah, and that's different state by state whether or not you can harvest it,
yeah,
or forage it, um, or grow it yourself. Anyway, um, Alfie Aesthetics is a good channel too. Huh? I'll have to check that out. Excuse me.
I do think the good thing about any of the any niche thing
Mm,
where we always had a hard time transferring that knowledge and it got lost and people learned something and then it kind of if you didn't pass it on to a lot of people it sort of
dies
lost.
out.
With so much going on through the internet and YouTube, you have permanent records, but you also have access where people are looking for something very specific can find it. And so I think we'll actually have a pretty large retention of niche information going into the future that's really helpful for sort of preserving um, some of these things in a different way.
Yep. So, well, it is
Yeah.
now after 10 and we're winding down a little bit. So, 16 people in here. Thanks for watching. If you don't mind hitting the thumbs up, that would be awesome because that would help with our um, analytics on YouTube and all the oh my gosh, I can't talk tonight. Um, it does help us get our videos out there on YouTube as well. Uh, it's getting that time of year. Yeah, and we will be getting back into a little bit of foraging. I'll probably do features
We're probably a month out at least before things warm up enough to get the
to get the
we'll
good
get some
things.
you'll get some little we'll get some weeds and some
Yeah,
edibles, but to get enough of abundance for
yeah.
a good walk, it's going to be beginning of May
But we could
almost.
do a feature item and
Yeah,
stuff here and there. So, and we usually do a feature item on our
and the
show.
stuff that comes up is so delicate and tender and grows slow, so it tends to be sweet
Oh
and high
yeah,
potence and really tasty.
chickweed,
So it's a
guys.
perfect the first few weeks.
You
And of course, your watercresses
yes,
that are down your stream beds and almost coming out of the snow. As soon as we get these first warm ups, they are the best of the season. So
yes.
it's not a bad time to start looking around, even in slate warm ups. Maple tapping is going on.
In
We decided
Michigan,
we
yep.
tapped last year. We still have a bunch left. We decided
Not
we're
to
not
tap this year.
going to, just with time, and we don't need it. We have like 3/4 of a gallon.
Yeah, we don't use it very fast.
So we should have used. We use it. It's just we don't need it this year. Next year.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, what you can find right now, there are things that are starting, but it's a little bit limited. You can also find turkey tail mushrooms right now out growing as well.
Hmm.
But we'll keep going with things. We've done a lot of these features before. If you want some repeat on these live shows and revisit some of them, we can do that as well.
Radishes go fast. That's your first thing up. They go, yes, you can get baby radishes if the weather cooperates
Prepping
by
some
Easter sometimes. So,
prepping strawberries and radishes.
yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, we will definitely be back next week. I will not have guests here during the live, but it might make it a little hard. We'll have to see how I could do on if we could do a featured herb or foraged item next week. It depends a little bit on what we're doing with the guests. But we will be on our live show next week. Come with your cooking questions for Mike and 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Sunday. So
Hmm.
we will see you next time, guys.
Have a good night.
Oh, good night.